I hope not. There's like 30 feet.
Hey, listen, I just want to call out one person.
And I hate myself a lot.
But stuff. You're getting punched in the dick.
There needs to be more Street Shark references.
I say who?
That's funny as hell.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Underqualified and Overcompensated. I, as always, am your host with the least most here at the Amazon packaging warehouse. Don't mind me.
Santa came early.
They're actually Christmas presents for Ray. They're like, just don't mind that.
Are you the one stealing all the PS5s? Is that the PS5?
Yes. Yeah, I bought my 3-year-old a PS5. I thought she'd really fucking appreciate it.
You don't like all the things that people should be sad that a child won't get a $500 console for Christmas? A child shouldn't have a $500 console. Then that's like minimum.
Yeah.
Anyway, please continue.
Most adults don't need a $500 console. But to my right, your left, is the ever beautiful, the ever just bronze AF Rico, Vacation
Hey.
Rico.
Vacation Rico is here now.
Looking fantastic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic, you know. It rained today on the island. It'll be okay. And yeah, you know, I'll be back to the States soon for my really long extended vacation. But yeah, and then I'll be back to my normal setup. I won't be hanging up. What up, Kenny? I won't be hanging up my faux video equipment in my my hostel bed. Yeah, because I'm in a hostel. That's where.
Yeah. So they've actually given you a date to come back? Transitively, like the 17th time?
Yeah, it's a day. It's a day, question mark, dot.
Or did they just give you like, hey guys, we'll be going home from like this month to this month, somewhere in there?
Tour guides, you know, they don't always know exactly when things end. They'll get a hard time eventually, and then I'll be able to go back home.
Tour guides know nothing. 1.5 stars. Would not recommend.
The mimosa bar was just not great.
Room service was obscene. I had to turn down my own bed. Also, I think I saw a rat outside. And what kind of hospital does not have co-located bathrooms? Obscene.
Don't know. Eventually go home. We don't actually know. Never going home.
That's pretty much
Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's any information you get. So what's on your mind?
What's on my mind? I'm very pro 2A right now, as you should all be. I don't know if you want to start that heavy though. What's on your mind?
I mean, we can start as heavy as you want. I've named this episode # not my podcast.
Oh, it's not mine either.
Yeah, because the amount of people that are that's play on words, you know, # not my president. Because that's how the presidency works. If you don't want to believe it, it doesn't exist. Yeah, like vaccines and STDs and, you know, global warming. If you just don't believe in it, the universe then gets rid of it. That's exactly how it works. But I mean, so I named it # not my podcast this episode because I have not been watching a whole lot of news. I've been trying to distance myself a little bit, watch the headlines, and that's about it. Usually every morning, every night when I cook dinner, I'll listen to the news. And I've been taking a break. I got a record player, so I've been listening to my records and just relaxing to Queen and the Beatles and Kanye West's gospel album, which is actually pretty fucking dope. Like, I've just been relaxing, but from my little sneak peeks here and there, hashtag not my debt. See, you're now absolved from. You're free. You're all good, Andy. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You no longer owe money to college.
At least 50,000 allegedly, or what is it? Whatever the hell he's saying, amongst all the pandering bullshit.
He went to a good school, so yeah, it's more than 50,000. He went to like an actual university. He didn't get his lawyer and degree from the community college.
No, that's the proposal. So I mean, I've been actually trying to distance myself from the news as well for like the last week because I'm kind of burnt out on it. As I'm sure many Americans or even people around the world are just like, oh my God, is this shit just not over?
Well, and it's just repetitive, right? It's the same shit over and over again. It's President Trump golfing and spouting nonsense about how the election's rigged and stolen from him and how they're fighting it. And then the other part of the news, just being like, it's called, like, this is it. Like, the recounts are done. And, like, you can't fight it anymore. The recounts are done. Everything's done with. It's going to happen. And then, he's not giving President-elect Biden's briefings and all sorts of information and keeping them out of the White House. It's just, that's all it's been since the election, since a couple weeks after the election, right? For the last 2 weeks. And I say a couple weeks after the election, and it's literally only the end. It hasn't even been a month since the election.
Feels like it's been forever. We've been going through this election for 6 months. Steven Crowder still got an election fucking discount code on his fucking channel right now, probably. Because he keeps saying the election isn't over.
See, and that's what gets me. The biggest thing is just the sheer, like, if you can have hope, right? You can have hope that a recount can switch the votes and stuff like that. You can have hope and be like, I do want him to be my president, and I hope it does happen. But then there's none of that. There's no hope. There's just sheer determination. Like, they think if they say it enough, it will come into fruition, when they're just like, no, he's our president. He'll stay our president for the next 4 years. He was the properly elected official. Bitch, no, he wasn't. Twice.
Wasn't he, though?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
No.
Now, I'll say it again. Wasn't he, though? Did I make it real yet? Wasn't he, though?
The initial count, he lost. The recount, lost again.
So the electoral votes aren't in yet, as far as what I'm tracking in today's.
Well, no, so the electoral votes, they don't come in until December?
Yeah. So what he's saying is
December is when they meet.
If the Electoral College certifies Joe Biden as the official winner, then at that point he will finally let go.
Well, but he's only saying that because he's legitimately trying to create faithless electors. He's already been caught talking to electors, trying to get them to go against their state's voting, which is not technically illegal, but they can be fined. They can be charged with certain things in a lot of other states. I think only 2 or like maybe 5 states actually don't have any regulation saying that the elector has to go with the faith of the state. But most
those are the states I'd be talking to
do, right? And so he's trying to create faithless electors, which the term itself should deter you immediately. And I've watched several conservative news anchors and just people on the street when they interview and be like, yeah, we're going to get those faithless electors. Like, what part of faithless makes you think this is honorable? We should do this. Like, if I was like, you know what, I just need to swing my faithless commander to being on my side, no one would be like, yeah, that sounds like a guy I want to be behind. Like, no. Like, it just doesn't. They're in such a denial, and it's because the electoral votes haven't been cast yet. And they're like, oh, we can swing them. Like, you shouldn't try to swing them. They are representatives of that state. They're supposed to vote along with the state. That's the point. If you manage to create those faithless electors, then you're proving your own point that the electoral college sucks and should get taken away. That's the main fear of everyone, that the electors don't have to vote. Like, it's just people fluffing their own dicks, hoping that the outcome happens, rather than just being like, okay, we lost. You know what? I hope the best for Joe Biden. I don't like the man. I don't like the vice president. But they are my president and my vice president now.
Not
and
yet.
I hope not yet.
They haven't been inaugurated yet, is what I'm talking about.
Yes. They're it, right? I hope the best for them. And I hope that their next 4 years goes smoothly. They have a great presidency, a great term, and they do great things for the country. Because that's what you should do for every president, regardless of who it is.
They're not going to do great things. They're going to do
probably
horrible
not.
fucking things.
Yeah, probably not. But if we made a clone of Hitler and he happened to become president, I would still be like, I hope he does well. Because I fucking live here.
All right, I guess I was going to make a joke as maybe better than Biden. But that's a cancel-worthy statement, so I'm going to retract that.
It's a strong statement. The bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out. No, it's just people just kind of living in denial, and it's pointing the other finger. And like, I watched a few interviews of the guys who like go out to rallies and protests, and they interview the other side, right? And they're generally either super conservative going to like a liberal college and asking the college students, or they're super liberal going to a MAGA rally. And there was one guy who went to the Million MAGA March, and he was interviewing them, and he was like, they were all pretty much saying, "Oh, he's our president. He's going to be our president." They stole the election. And he's like, well, how? And they're like, well, with the media, and he's like, no. I just like, give me proof. Like, there must be some sort of facts or proof for you to be so determined that this is happening. So, like, give those to me, and maybe you could sway my opinion. And they didn't have any, of course. They're like, oh, they were using Sharpies in Michigan. He's like, which is fine. They can use Sharpies in Michigan. That's perfectly okay. And they're like,
a fine tip.
Well, and they're like, oh, and there's dead people voting, and he's like,
everything.
He's like, there's no dead people, and they're like, oh, when the 100,000 votes in Michigan that all of a sudden populated overnight for Biden, and they're like,
fucking 15-minute period.
Well, yeah, and he's like, well, that was a mistake, and they claimed it was a mistake almost immediately, and they fixed it. And they're like, yeah, but it happened. And they're like, but they fixed it. Like, yeah, but it happened. I'm like, that's not voter fraud. That's some dumb idiot pushed the wrong button. Happens all the time.
I'll push the wrong buttons all day.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm pressing right now.
Yeah, like, why are you surprised? Literally 2 years ago, we had a dude who slipped up and pushed the wrong button in Hawaii and freaked everyone out because they thought a missile attack was happening. Do you remember that shit? We all forgot that 2 years ago, some sleepy-ass fucking private hit the wrong button.
What does this button do, sir?
He's sitting on two just... Oh, shit.
I can take this time up until Inauguration Day to talk as much smack about Joe Biden as I can. Once he's...
I don't know who this man is, but...
I like your style.
Just bold statements off the bat.
So let me
I don't
go
know
through
these
some
people.
reasons.
AIDS and dementia.
Let me go through some reasons there why I do not think Joe Biden is great for the country. I hope he has a great run as president, and may his first son be a manly son. I don't know, but
Did you give him a Viking blessing? Like,
yes.
Like,
right,
we do hope that he does his best, because that's what's best for
Yes.
the country, right? But then, realistically, in our own opinions, we do not have high hopes. And here are these
Let's
points
start
from
with
Rico.
let let's start with fossil fuels. Do we need to maybe escalate?
I like this guy.
Do we need to escalate science to find alternative sources of energy? Yes, we do. But if we go ahead and now start banning sales of new electric vehicles because of the fossil fuels and just all that nonsense,
Banning sales
then
of new gasoline vehicles is what you're saying.
yes, which is already happening in California, and is looking to move forward to the fucking just sweeping the nation at some point. If you think about that, that's again going to be another tax on people that can't afford electric vehicles. So then gas is going to get more expensive. Now that's on the civilian side. So at this point now you've got people that can't afford electric vehicles. They also can't afford to fill up the gas in their vehicles that are still on the road, maintained, and they just can't move forward. So that's already a tax on the lower class American people.
And the impact on the car market, which employs a bunch of people. So there's less sales in one of the largest states in the union.
Right.
Which means that there's less revenue going into these cars companies, which means they have to lay off a bunch of workers, which means that Detroit's about to get fucked again. But that's cool. Fuck Detroit, right?
So I do believe that I do believe that we do need to accelerate our science in order to move on to something else. But just doing the hard line is only going to hurt people in a middle to lower class situation, right? So let's not even talk about the civilian side any longer. Let's go to the military side. All right. So Rhodes, you're in the military, right?
Allegedly.
Does any vehicle run? Do we have any electric vehicles in the military?
Dude, our fucking pencil sharpeners aren't even electric. They run off JP8. My laptop runs off JP8.
So now the operational cost of the military is going to go up. Now we're going to have to move forward with new vehicles that will eventually have to go to a new power plant because gas will become so expensive for the military that it's going to increase operational costs drastically, limiting the military as an effective force.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there thinking, oh, just convert everything to electric, you don't know how large these vehicles are. And how large an engine, let's just say, for a Striker, because the two of us are very familiar with these vehicles.
Too familiar.
Yeah. The engine of a Striker is the size of your Fiat. Reasonably, right? And
My
the
Fiat or your
vehicle weighs...
Fiat?
Yeah, a Fiat. And the vehicle weighs 17 tons? 70 tons? I always get that mixed up.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah, a ridiculous amount of tons.
It's so many tons.
So many
All
tons.
the tons.
All of the tons. It has the most tons. But my point is, it's very heavy. Could you imagine the size of the electric motor would have to be to move this vehicle? Like, electric cars are notoriously light for that fucking reason. And of course, they cut down on the weight because the size of the engine is much smaller. But then the weight is also reduced due to other resources. So if you take a vehicle, which literally, a car, a majority of the weight is the engine, right? Rico, mechanic?
A car is, it's
usually majority of the weight is the engine.
The back third.
Yeah. It's the majority of the weight of the vehicle. In a Striker or a military vehicle, the engine is not the heaviest part. Not even remotely the heaviest part. No. Of the fucking vehicle. The ramp on the back of the Striker weighs more than the fucking engine. The amount of the size of it is just ridiculous. So of course, we would have to maintain gas vehicles, like you're saying, which then makes it, I mean, kind of opens up if you limit the gas use for the rest of the country, because then it means that we can use all of the fuel that we have for military use.
Mhm.
And we don't use gas. We use JP8, which is fucking diesel fuel. So there's that.
It's all coming from it's all petroleum based fuels. So we're talking about gas, but all petroleum based fuels. So do I think that the Striker, since we're talking about that specific platform, do I think the Striker could benefit from an electric engine? Yes, in the fact that they're so operationally loud. Imagine that thing.
Oh, a Prius Striker?
A Prius Striker going through the woods.
It would be a true recon vehicle now.
Yeah, at that point it would be. But the opposite side of that is what happens if those vehicles or any military vehicle is now electric and it's now in the theater of war. One vehicle with battery pack gets blown up. It's going to take minimum 2-3 days for that fire to go off, and it's a pretty fucking violent heat. So imagine a motor pool now. A motor pool where a vehicle goes up on fire in the fucking motor pool, which happens maybe too fucking often. Now imagine that happening in the fucking stable with a bunch of vehicles, and all those vehicles are now not operationally safe because we're waiting for the battery packs to explode in those vehicles.
Yes. Or think about it this way, right? If a Striker or a vehicle runs out of gas in the field, what do we need to do? We fill it up with gas.
Yeah.
And
if
it dies,
doing a convoy,
yeah, if it dies, we now have to tow that vehicle. We can't just recharge it. And the entire bottom half of the engine compartment is just going to be one gigantic fucking battery, because I know the Army and I know how they're going to do it. They're not going to do small batteries and like multiples of them. They're going to make a battery the size of a fucking dresser and put it in that truck to where you have to use a crane to remove it.
So now in just this specific topic alone, you have attacks on the middle lower class civilian side. You have operational,
deep down the military rabbit hole there, but either way.
Yeah. You also have on the military side, operationally, costs are going to be astronomical. Those vehicles will be built by the lowest bidder, like normal, anything in the government.
Thewish.com.
And hey, this Striker's this small. That's not how it looks in the picture. Why is this Striker got a dildo on
it? Really close zoom. Could you imagine?
You can, Andy,
so
and
you
it's
just
not
have
fun.
to use another one.
I've had to do it through the Alps, and it's not great.
Yeah, so you just we have specific we have a specific system. We have tow bars that basically we just have another Striker or something of similar size, a Bradley, a tank, whatever can actually tow it. A Humvee, it's not going to work out, but it's too heavy, and the Humvees are gutless wonders anyway. Your Prius actually has more horsepower than a Humvee. But yeah, you just take the Striker, you put the bars on the back, attach it to the front of the Striker, throw the transfer case into neutral pretty much, and then it just tows. It is a 75-step process.
Which is made easier with a gas can. I learned way too late. But
setting the bars up on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you use the ropes, and you duct tape the ropes to the bars. Dude, that fucking class was ridiculous. And I think actually Grant was a part of that class. And I asked him afterwards, I was like, what the fuck was up with the ropes where we just duct taped it? And he's like, dude, I don't fucking... And welcome to the Whiskey Saber recovery course.
So we covered the civilian side. We covered the military side on how the very
Chekhov is going hard right now. I don't know what that. I'm not going to show that.
I'm not showing that. I bypassed that one.
You do
so
either, buddy.
How fossil fuels, just cutting out fossil fuels very quickly, hard line is going to affect the civilian side. It's going to affect the military side. Back to civilian side. Now we have truckers that their livelihood depends on their vehicle, but a lot of the truckers,
yours, because there goes the supply chain.
Yeah. Now, then you have these truckers that a lot of them, in order to make good money, they own their own vehicles. They maintain their truck, and they may not work for a company. So at this point, they will be phased out. They will not have their livelihood because we're doing this hard line. Again, do I think we need to move forward in science? Yes, I do. But the hard line is going to make things very difficult for the civilian side and the military side.
Well, yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Right now, I'm just going through my. If you're just joining us, Grant, I'm just going through my list of why I don't think Biden's great for the country, and at least initially, based on his campaign promises. I gotta say all this shit before he gets inaugurated, and he's my boss.
The fossil fuel thing is, and there is a way to do it, and obviously, like, I'm not running for president. I don't have the answer, but I believe that there is a way to fully switch over to electric vehicles, which obviously would be better for everything. And it's a slow progression.
Yeah.
I don't think in 4 years you can have the whole country switch. I would love for it to happen and not tank the economy, tank our supply chains for food, and that's what a lot of people also don't recognize, right? With that is if anything affects truckers, like everyone takes truckers for granted. We hear the jets flying over Costa Rica. But if anything affects the supply chain with the truckers, then there goes your food. That's why when COVID started, there was a food scarcity. Not that we didn't have enough food, but the supply chain of the truckers from the plants or the farms to the stores was getting in the way because of COVID-19. Right? That's why Walmart couldn't restock fast enough because their supply chain got in the way. And that's the difference between a first world and a third world country is our supply chains. So, and it's going to have to take a long time because big oil is going to be an issue. Having the fact that they are so deeply embedded into politics, it is ridiculous. But then also, we brought it up in the podcast before, electric batteries are just as bad for the environment as gas because, yeah, you're not drilling and you're not, releasing things into the air, but the fucking lithium that you have to mine is extremely harmful.
Oh, yeah.
And what vehicles are they using to mine those lithium mines? Gas. Because you can't run a fucking huge fucking backhoe the size of your house. Yes, people, if you've ever watched a video of a backhoe in a mine, the tire is 15 feet tall. They are the size of your house. You could put your house in the back of one of those industrial gold mining backhoes. You can't run that on electric. It's too goddamn big.
It's a crazy situation, and again, it's a tax on the middle and lower class, the working family, and also just, I think, operationally for the military.
I'm gonna let Rico continue with his points. I'll be back.
I do this show by myself right now. So, point 2. I hope he comes back quick. It's gonna be like rough for me to argue with myself. Okay, so point 2, Second Amendment. Yeah. So, the most recent thing I heard, I did been following the news. I posted on my own Facebook a video from Colion Noir talking about also that this buyback is for weapons, AR-15 style. It's also going to be a tax on the poor itself, and I wholeheartedly agreed with that. It's going to be a situation where people who may need weapons to protect themselves aren't going to be able to afford it. Anything over 10 rounds is going to require an NFA stamp. It's shocking to me how quickly they just want to go into and just remove things that are like that from the Constitution. And then they talk about, well, if you need more than 10 shots to hunt, then you're not a good hunter. I don't think this is a hunting situation. We're talking about being prepared if we find ourselves in a situation where the government no longer sustains us. What they're doing is removing the weapons that we would have equal, and I use equal very loosely because obviously we won't have anything equal to a military force in that scenario. So you're taking away things with high capacity magazines, allowing people to protect themselves, and I think it's very, very short sighted. It's like, so he thinks, yeah, the government's not going to go bad while he's in. Then people aren't prepared after him because we never know what's going to happen. We can't say nothing's going to happen in America because it's happened so many other places and anything could fucking change. Again, it would be I wholeheartedly agree that it would be a tax on the poor. The fact is, people that are rich, they're going to have bodyguards that have weapons. The politicians have bodyguards. The president has Secret Service. These people are surrounded by weapons and want to take away the weapons of the people. And that's crazy to me how hard they are pushing it. The buyback of the guns. How can you buy something back that you didn't pay for? The government didn't give us these weapons. So buyback is a very, like, that term kind of triggers me. It's pretty crazy. What do we got here? BLM and Antifa are secretly a part of the Illuminati. I don't know. Anything's possible. It's 2020. It is. So I just think it's a crazy situation that the first step, one of the big campaign promises is just taking weapons away from people. 1% of all gun violence is from AR-15 style weapons. There's more gun violence from handguns, but nobody's talking about taking away handguns. And there's not even a situation where they're talking about, like, let's try to make things, I don't know, somewhat better. So they make you pay for a $200 NFA stamp for any magazine over fucking 10 rounds, for any fucking AR-15 style weapon. And again, it's absolutely insane. Like, at least maybe this is short-sighted on my part, but maybe they should allow vets and first responders to be able to be separated from all that. Because if things go down, people are going to be looking towards people with prior experience to help them in that situation. And maybe somebody out there should be exempt from taking everyone's fucking shit and being prepared. I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot the past few days, and the whole situation is just crazy to me. Who's out there? Who's got a question? I don't know much about BLM and Antifa being secretly a part of the Illuminati. What was it? The second coming came. You guys would be my first choice. All right, Grant says it's not about the statistics. They're using this shock factor that mass shootings with ARs have to either score a face value only win or to legitimately remove people's means to defend themselves from a tyrannical government. I'm with it. It's I don't know. Rhodes apparently is aggressively pooping, but I think he might be back. You missed my whole speech, so there's not really. That came off as a me on a soapbox situation with nobody.
I was listening
with nobody to rebut
the whole time.
So
I didn't miss a damn thing. I apologize,
so,
people. I was aggressively pooping, and I feel comfortable letting you all know that.
We're all family here.
Yeah, so I hate having to step out in the middle of the podcast. It's very unprofessional, but I was trying to play the Can I Make It game, and it hasn't been good for me all morning. I've left my Joe at the screening table for most of the morning while I settle my own fucking life problems in the bathroom
Got the Rona.
for most of the day. Yeah, no, it's just, bad dietary things. Some coffee, energy drinks, and cigarettes with some defect eggs didn't equal out in my body. So,
U.S. with its current gun laws will never fall from an outside source. It can only collapse within. That is 100% accurate.
Even back in the 1940s, there was that Japanese general who was quoted that we could never win a land battle with the United States because behind every blade of grass is a weapon. Even back in the 1940s and 50s.
So what am I trying to say? An independent group did a study/survey trying to estimate the amount of guns in the U.S. This was recent. This was in like the last week. The results came out. There was like 430 million. So we're doing pretty well individually. And just think of how much money the government's going to make when they said they weren't going to tax the poor in this new administration, but they're going to, for every magazine, every single magazine that's over 10 rounds, they're going to charge you $200.
But it's just
for
future purchases, right? Obviously, it would be near impossible for them to figure out who has already bought them.
Well, if you're registered, yeah.
Well, no, the weapon's registered, but not the magazine.
So the weapon, think about it. The weapon, if you know what weapon it is, then you would already know how many rounds this weapon holds. Well, no one's buying a magazine with less capacity.
I mean, theoretically though, but let's say for handguns, right? Mm-hmm. Some handguns come standard 9 rounds, or 8+1, or 9+1. Mm-hmm. But then it's right next to that same magazine, it has one that's an extended 15 or 14+1, right? Yeah. So like, I feel, for the ARs, if it's registered, it's easy to say, obviously you don't have a 15-round magazine for an AR. I very rarely have I ever seen anything like that count for like an AR magazine. But so but like pistol extended.
I'm not gonna put Grant on blast right now. If you're in the chat, you can see this. You're telling me you don't got no 30-round mags, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I have a shit ton of them. But I'm saying that it's almost impossible for them to count them.
Mm. But what if you get pulled over?
I don't have any. Bitch, I got one like right around.
What if you're going hunting? You get pulled over for a random, I don't know, taillight out. The cops now check your vehicle because, I don't know, they think something's fishy and they have the right to search without, whatever. So now they search your vehicle. They find even better. This all happens, right? I've got a soldier, this is all hypothetical, lives off post. He needs to bring in his or her kit with all their magazines to get ready for the field. They get pulled over. Now they got to be hassled by the cops because they got a 30-round mag in there, which is part of their workload. What happens then? Or that soldier, one of the mags falls out of his kit in the trunk. He doesn't see it. He gets pulled over in civilians, and now he's got a 30-round mag and gets picked up by the cops. You see,
I mean,
this is why I was talking about maybe military vets, first responders should be exempt from this situation.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. In that specific situation, I'm saying, yeah, but that's why I was saying it'll be for like they'll tax you at the counter when you buy the magazine or something like that. I think,
right?
Like the gun stores will be selling the stickers or something like that. I don't think they can then tax the priorly purchased ones because it's practically impossible. Other than pulling every single person over and checking inside their cars, you would have to go to every single person's house and be like, how many magazines you got? We got to look. Like it's impossible to do it. But then you have that situation where, like, if you do get pulled over, like, it's going to have that sticker on there. So then people have to go out and buy a pack of stickers. For some reason,
I can't post. I can't tap on comments like I normally can right now. I don't know what's going on.
I thought you've been doing it the whole time.
I have been, but for some reason, the last 4 things, unless we're getting like.
So
See,
some states
there
do
you go.
have military ID holder exceptions. I know, like in Idaho, for example, for me to get my concealed carry, all I literally have to go do is go talk to the sheriff, show him my ID, and I get my concealed carry license. Thank you.
Oh, that would work for me.
Yeah. My dick is also uncircumcised. I appreciate your astute observations.
Hey, you're still watching, so good on you. You say whatever you want in there. Just keep watching. Share, like, subscribe.
But of course, the gun things is what most people are worried about with the Biden presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've discussed 1,000 times, they're not going to take your guns away. They physically cannot do that. It's not going to happen.
You still got love. See?
Yeah, I know. I'm cute as shit. Bitch,
So those are my 2 big things. I think the aggressive removal of fossil fuels is something that's going to, again, tax the middle lower class, affect the military operationally, and just the removal of the potential removal, the the potential removal or the potential taxing will also, again, from an administration that said they weren't going to tax the poor. This is very straightforward, a tax on the poor. Mm-hmm. And it's insane to me.
But it's roundabout to where it's not going to affect the his voter base who's not going to research into it, right? It's a roundabout way. It's not a direct tax. He's removing the main tax of income, and then circumventing around and putting these little taxes that people won't notice. Just little tiny things. So
hey, send Grant a damn invite. I'm okay with this.
I have some very strong opinions. That's never
I'm good with
a
this.
Bad omen.
Duncan, you don't want to be taxed because you're poor. Just don't be poor. Boom.
The man's not wrong. It's a solid logic.
He's not wrong, but the fact is some people are still going to be poor.
Yeah, it's got flaws, but he's right. Like people be like, "Oh, I live in a dangerous neighborhood. You can get shot." Well, if you don't want to get shot, move. Obviously, there's some flaws and things get in the way, but you know.
Sorry, I couldn't afford the 10-round, the 15-round mag, so I didn't get the gun, and now I'm dead.
Right. So
again,
I've been so much pro-2A stuff. They're not going to take our weapons away, but they will start taxing shit to make it harder, right? Grant mentioned it earlier that ammo is hard to find, so that's one way that they can do it. But ammo is just hard to find right now because what was there, like a couple million new gun owners during COVID-19?
Oh yeah,
and so and of course they're starting off with 9mm, so there's no fucking 9mm ammo.
Hey, remember that thing I was talking about offline, the BBS? That I found another place that sells them. So hey, now I just gotta get a bunch of ammo.
Well, there you go. Yes, you tax the welfare. Of course, they're going to tax what they're giving you. They do it to us. They tax our pay, which is by the taxpayers that we pay. That 30-gallon.
So I say the poor. However, again, I think this is a middle lower class thing. I think even middle class families would be affected by this, especially in a time where people aren't working or may have lost their jobs, but they have weapons to keep their family safe. Now they've got to come up with, hey, I've got 4 guns that have a higher capacity. Now I've got to come up with all this extra money that I don't have, because every country in the world gave the rest of their people a lot of money to stay home for Corona, even though they're all blowing up right now anyway. But
well, I mean, so
America,
like,
we got 1,200.
well, you say lower class, right? Poor people.
Middle lower
And
class.
I just Googled it. Middle class is 40,000 to 122,000.
Okay.
It is
So
still
lower-
difficult in this current economy. It is still difficult for people with a single income of 40 to 50,000 to afford shit for a family, right? Let's say family of 4 with a 45,000 household income. With this current market, it is still extremely difficult for them to afford shit. So like the poverty line is even increasing. So anyone below 40,000, almost astronomically impossible.
Welcome,
Good
old
God,
Grant.
Farva.
Oh yeah, boy. You like that?
You look like a hobo.
No,
You're
I
about to go
look.
blow Leonard Skinner.
Hey, this is a nice Tom Selleck, all right, and
It's
Movember
bushy as
happened.
shit, don't get me wrong.
Movember happened. The wife saw it, and she said I couldn't shave it until she got that right. So
Don't get me wrong. It is bushy as shit. It is very Tom Selleck-esque. Fucking superb.
All right.
Duncan's got
Grant,
a
you came
little
on here.
fucking soliloquy here. See a tax that
Cool.
hits middle class, which is basically everyone and never benefits anyone below 250,000. You'll see a mandatory buyback after a magazine reduction. So
I agree with.
Oh, well, I was
Go
just
for
going to say, yeah, they can do the mandatory buyback, but it's not going to happen unless they're going to imprison literally half the United States, who then says, "Fuck yourself, I'm going to keep my guns." Like, what are you going to do? Start no-knocking an entire neighborhood of fucking people?
And then we're
Like,
the police state with our tyrannical government that requires.
Yeah, you just said there's 450 million guns, right?
Yeah, somewhere. There's like 430.
That's like 80 million
something.
gun owners, right? 80 or 100 million of.
I don't know the
people
exact
own
number of
those
gun owners.
Yeah, I know it's not one for one for sure.
I know the
because
number
my
shot
grandpa has 45 guns himself.
They're coming for Grandpa.
You just got him on a list.
Oh, he's on the list. Trust me. They've been watching him for a long time.
I have been seeing that police saying that they wouldn't enforce it, and then you have people like what is it, Cuomo in New York, saying that that they're not real police and they need to be fired because they're trying to help defend the Constitution. So that's pretty fucking crazy too.
Well,
right.
we brought it up in the past, right? Like, let's not hit the 2A horse over the head, but we've mentioned in the past, in order for them to take your weapons, right, they can do a buyback and they can fine you, whatever it may be. That's going to be dead in the water. It's not going to fucking happen. And they're going to know that beforehand if they happen to get it passed. But even then, let's say they do get it passed, they then have to get people to go collect the people who aren't a part of the buyback, who are like, fuck you for my cold dead hands. Who are they going to get to do that? The police officers who live in those communities going to their neighbors. And then they're going to get the National Guard who lives in that community to go to their neighbors to then
Article
take
15.
their
Feel
weapons.
So something they could do.
You know how many soldiers that would just be like, fucking Article 15 me. I'm not giving you my guns. I'm not going to go to my aunt's house and give you her guns.
So in the event that the National Guard was brought in, what you would see is, and it would be weird because National Guard's owned by the state, right? But what you would see is like the New York National Guard would go to Pennsylvania and they would do those clearing, and then Pennsylvania would go somewhere else, right? So they don't have
that makes sense.
the conflicts of interest. It's what they do in Afghanistan, right? The Kandaks, their divisions or whatever. Those soldiers aren't supposed to be from the regions they're operating in.
So even if they switch the region, though, it's still the concept, right, of you're removing weapons from your own people, and I would say a decent amount of service members have weapons themselves.
Mm-hmm. I don't think the military would back it.
No,
and
100% not, because that fucking general and the sergeant major of the army or fucking chief of staff, he owns guns.
Yeah, but I think
I would place
I mean,
money
he's
on
signed
it.
for a lot.
at a certain level, it's not service anymore. They're politicians, right? It's the politics of it. They go from being a soldier to like a proxy politician. They can't do anything about the guns that are out right now, or the magazines, or any of that, right? They can't. Like, you do a buyback, mandatory or voluntary, right? If it's voluntary, dudes who want to keep their guns are going to keep their guns. That's vast majority. You do a mandatory buyback, most people are still going to keep their guns, and even if they're registered, and then somebody calls them and says, "Hey, you have a weapon registered. Why didn't you turn it in?" And they're like, "Oh, it was stolen, or it was lost in a fishing.
I lost it in a
accident."
boat accident.
Yeah, that's the number one excuse, right? So then, and you can't go out and send police to 40 million, even like a small percentage of gun owners. The last stat I looked at, and it was old, it was 80 million gun owners, right? So say a tenth of that. You're going to send police to 8 million homes and search them for guns. What the way gun control is going to happen is it's going to be in future purchasing, registration, background checks. Ammo is going to be a huge one. Ammo's already hard to find, and it's super expensive.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, trying to buy 5.56 or 9 mil or 45, it's insane.
It's only
They're gonna be like, hey, you
calibers
only
that are
get
still-
22 long rifle, and you can only use it for hunting. Well, I'm not hunting fucking squirrels. I'm like,
Yeah. That's
like,
that's how
and you
it's gonna
can't
be. That's
have
the
more
only
than
way
5
gun control
rounds.
is
If you
gonna
want me to shoot anything hunting with the 22, you better give me a 30-round magazine, because I'm gonna fucking need it. And then I'm gonna decimate the whole body, all the meat. Yeah, it's fucked. I lit up this fucking elk with 30-22 rounds.
The elk didn't even notice.
Yeah.
He flipped me off and walked away. He called me a bitch.
Hey, Joe Biden wants you to get a shotgun, all right?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't have 10 rounds, which I may or may not have bought a mag tube today to increase. I had bought a bunch of stuff for my shotgun. I just said, damn the man today. And my field shotgun is about to be TAC AF just to say, damn the man.
And it's like,
They're going to outlaw pistol grip shotguns or pistol grip rifles.
well, so even the shotgun thing, right? Like, I will give Joe Biden that he had a point, right? Like, home defense shotguns are one of the better things to have for a home defense, because they're less likely to travel through walls, which then endangers people in the house and shit like that. But I've watched the interview and you listen to him speak, you can immediately recognize a person who has very rarely in his life handled a weapon and know how it operates and has received zero training. Because even in his little speech where he talks about the shotgun, you're like, you don't know how shotguns work. Like that.
Speaking of people not like showing that they've never handled a firearm, and going back to the high-ranking officers or high-ranking members of the military.
Oh, you're talking about that fucking lieutenant colonel?
General. He was lieutenant colonel, yeah, and he's and like you could see this guy had never. I don't know, maybe he didn't do marksmanship classes or what, but his
weapons cards was always pencil whip.
Always hand jammed.
Somebody write lieutenant's weapons card. All right, he shot a 12.
No, I remember watching that, and immediately upon watching that, I was like, "That's not how you hold that." 30 years in the army, and you never learned that. And then he's talking about it like this is a weapon of war, and I'm like, "No, it's not." It's just the weapon you give us for war. There's better shit out there. You give us this piece of shit.
Oh, the reporter that did he went shooting an AR, and he's like, this concussion in the flash disoriented me, and I couldn't breathe through the muzzle smoke.
But have you seen the compilation videos? Like, I've seen a few of those of like that dude talking about that, and then it switched to like a soldier holding two of them side by side and just fucking firing them.
Or there's like a 5-year-old girl shooting one, and she's like, "This is fun."
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's a massive misinformation that goes out about weapons. That's why so many people are afraid of them.
It's a legacy family.
Oh, Lieutenant General. That's where I was getting mixed up. Not Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm not even going to say the left, right? Because it's just the
Maybe you should better than that.
anti-Second Amendment people. They're just misinformed, and they're misinformed because they're the media, not just a specific media outlet, just the media period, which is funded by or have propagated by the people who are against weapons. They're misinformed. So then it's just like the 30 round clip ghost gun video that we've all seen. That man has no business holding a weapon or briefing people on a weapon, right? Like he had no business standing in a conference explaining a weapon to him. Do ghost guns exist? Yeah, ghost guns exist where they don't have serial numbers. Yeah, of course. They're just called illegally sold firearms.
No, that's not accurate.
They had a name. They pointed at one and they were like, "This is the bang button or the death button or some shit." I can't remember what it was.
Oh, and it was the fucking.
It was the magazine release, I think.
Oh, well, I saw one where they were talking about the fucking the bolt ride, and they were like, it does something like super high tech fancy. Like they were like, this is like, it makes it more deadly. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, that's when you
hit, so my fucking shit don't jam.
That's when you hit the forward assist, and the forward assist just kills everything in front of you.
Imagine somebody just thinks like the charging handle is like an old school Red Ryder BB gun. The more you pull it back,
no, it's like an airsoft gun. You have to charge the spring.
Yeah. Racks it 30 times, goes to shoot. There's no bullets.
Why is there stuff coming out? It's just it's misinformation, and that's honestly that's anything with any side of the political spectrum where they have an issue with the other side, right? When they're like, "Oh, you're wrong and I'm right," it's misinformation that's going about it, right? When it comes to weapons and firearm removal, it's because the other side doesn't really understand firearms and doesn't understand how they work and what people use them for and the actual capacity of these weapons and the importance of it. And then there's other shit like defund the police, what they actually mean when they say that, and not the whole statement itself. Just that sentence is very misleading, and it's not what they actually mean. Or in any other term, it's global warming, that it's misinformation, and people aren't doing the due diligence of doing their own research, which is just the pandemic of the world, I think.
The police in a lot of areas have already assisted with defunding by just quitting their jobs and be like, all right, you don't want us to be cops.
Well, like,
I guess you're not going to worry about your budget so much this year. They just quit.
Well, like, people were freaking out about defund the police because, like, oh, they're trying to take the money from the way. No, they understand that police are important to keep the peace. Their point is, and I will agree with this, there has been a militarization of the police. Like, I saw it during the riots, a fucking striker with a police on the side of it. They do not need a striker.
That's at 4-star level in GTA.
Yeah, like you don't need that. They don't need fucking. I mean, they don't need a lot of the weapons and like.
Yeah, we don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's a fucking option.
I agree with the militarization of police, though. Like, they don't need Max Pros, Matt B's, shit like that, and it's a bad image. That's the worst part about it, is it's a bad image, and people see that, and it's not the police anymore. It's like a local military now.
Well, yeah, and like SWAT is overused because they want this funding, right? They want this funding, so SWAT's overused. So they send SWAT to shit that they don't fucking need SWAT for, and that started in the 80s, I think, because basically they wanted more funding, and so that's overused. But then what they're saying with the defund the police is demilitarize the police, but then increase their training. Like, police should be trained more. Joe Rogan is a huge advocate that all police should literally be blue belts in jiu-jitsu, which I agree with. Because if you're more comfortable with getting your ass kicked and knowing how to handle yourself, you would probably be less likely to fucking panic. And we've all seen videos of this dude going ham on 2 officers. And for one of the officers is fat as shit.
Hey.
And then he's just struggling with his fucking life to take this dude down. And you're like, there's two of you. Yeah.
Sounds like me after a 2-mile.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, I'm standing over here having taught that training, and like 2 soldiers can do it. Like, that's fine. With a week-long course of combatives level 1.
And what is the goal of combatives level 1?
Was the goal to get comfortable.
So the goal of combatives level 1 is, we always joked and said it was to teach you how to lose a fight, right?
Yeah, it's
shit
the
like
first
how
step
you
to
pass
losing a
the
bar
guard
fight.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
so the
but
goal
how
of
to pass
combatives
the guard
level 1 is not for you to win the fight. It's for you to survive long enough for, and it's just obviously in a military aspect, right, in a combat zone.
Right.
But the goal is to survive long enough for your battle buddy to shoot the guy.
Yeah.
That is combatives level 1. You're just supposed to survive
And it's to
long enough to
remove
hold
the
your own.
fear. To get punched in the face, to remove the fear, to be comfortable.
Drill.
Yeah, that clinch drill, you're getting punched right in the face by, and like every person who's ever gone through the course, there's always one really large black instructor that just punches the fuck out of you every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I only say that because I've taught that course 1,000 times, and there's always one. And it fucking knocks the shit out of everyone. And it's fun. But that's the point. And that's what I'm saying. Like, people, it's the same thing with the military. I've always thought that, honestly, the amount of training that we do, for the most part, is less than what we should be doing. And I feel the same way with the police. Everyone kind of sees the military and like sees the police, and they imagine in their head that these are the most badass motherfuckers in the world. When in reality, half these dudes, like, they train a lot, but they're not like training certain things. And then especially in the police, the Army probably trains way more than the police. So it's fun to get knocked out. Hey man, I go to jiu-jitsu every night and get my ass choked out, and I keep going. So yeah.
Are we working on
even your
campaign
birthday.
slogans for you, Rhodes?
Yeah. Rhodes 2020. It's fun to get knocked the fuck out. But my point is that they do need better training. And with conflict resolution, firearms safety training, and then some situations they can't get to their taser and they can only get to their firearms. Like, we can't watch videos and say what they should have done. We just need to give them better training. And police officers say it all the time. They're like, we don't receive enough. They receive equipment, but they don't receive a lot of training on it. That's my opinion.
Grant, you said you had strong feelings on this. Hit me with something.
So as far as like gun control goes, right? And coming from the Midwest, and a lot of my family is conservative. Most of them own guns. A couple of them been military. I'm not for like we need to have 240s and civilians should be running around machine guns.
Yeah, you don't want to be able to
I think
order a Tomahawk missile off of Amazon.
Yeah,
I feel like you should be able to, though, but that's my own personal choice. If I have to fight a tyrannical government, I need weapons at least equal to what they have. But that's just me. All right,
Rico's gone hardcore libertarian this election season.
So I could be pushed more towards that being like a more acceptable thing. But what I think goes along with it, and I do believe there does need to be some reform in gun control, but it doesn't need to be limiting magazine capacity, right? Because you do a couple mag change drills and that, sorry, I'm putting a 2-second break into this 30-round mag now. But no, I think background checks is what needs to be changed, right?
How so?
I've only ever bought one gun from an actual store, and that was in.
The rest I've stolen.
No, the rest I've traded for, right? So like the gun that I
3D
bought
printed
and was registered to me I don't even have it anymore, right? I traded it for 2 guns, multiply. But no background checks, right? So like if you're trying to buy a fully automatic, like a saw, right? You're trying to buy a saw. I don't think that you should just be able to order it off a catalog, right? I think there should be a background check for stuff like that, right? Check for history of mental illness, right? See history of convictions. If you have a bunch of gun convictions and like you just got out of jail and you're like, first thing I'm gonna to go do is buy a gun. Like, bro, you've kind of demonstrated that you're not responsible with that thing, and maybe you probably shouldn't fucking own one.
Well, yeah, if you have a felony, you shouldn't. Which and then we have to reprise the meaning of a felony, because a lot of victimless crimes are still categorized as a felony.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so aggressive violent crime felonies. Yeah, aggressive violent crimes. Those people shouldn't own a firearm. You proved that you are not a capable adult of not being a prick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't get.
So I think the only kind of evaluation based on what the background check shows. So are you saying, like, they do a background check and then because of what they find in the background check, they do a mental eval, or if they've had a mental eval that pops in the background check and then
No, I think he's talking about. So a lot of people are talking about doing that in conjunction. You do a background check, but then you also have to do a mental evaluation before you start buying firearms.
Okay.
And like, so for myself, I'm half and half on it, because I think it sounds great, but then it depends on, of course, who the psychologist doing your evaluation is. Then that psychologist is then going to 100% be lobbyized and have people lobbying. Yeah, it's going to become a private.
I want to buy a gun, but there's one psychologist, and I got to wait 8 months to get an appointment with this guy.
Right. And so then that's an issue. And then also who it is and what exactly are they going to be looking for? Because guaranteed that would then rule out half of the military and veterans because of PTSD reasons. And do I think that's a reason to take away someone's firearms? No. We have hundreds of thousands of service members serving right now with diagnosed PTSD, and they're still active duty. Like, that doesn't mean that they're incapable of having a firearm. But then also, it's also I feel like it would be super easy to then just lie your way through a fucking mental evaluation. If you know you're fucking nutso, just don't be crazy. Like, if you're like, I'm a crazy person, I want this gun to shoot a bunch of people, I just won't mention that I'm a hateful Nazi. Problem solved.
Just wear long sleeves that day.
Yeah, but disclaimer, I'm not an actual hateful Nazi.
I mean, he's got a skinhead going.
I know.
So, what you said earlier, right? 1% of gun crime is related to AR-style weapons.
Right.
And now we're using that one guy that would lie on his mental eval, which I do think if we made background checks more thorough, we would more people would not be allowed to own firearms. And it'd be something to look into on what percentage of those people, you can't really tell what percentage of those people would have actually committed a crime. Like, what was their likelihood? And it's something you can't read unless it actually happened. But as far as banning ARs and banning magazines that are bigger than 10-round clips and bang switches and shit, like, you're trying to go after 1% of gun crime. And the reason that they're trying to go after it is because of that shock value, right? Like, how many people die in Chicago every weekend from pistols, from handguns? And Chicago has one of the strictest handgun laws in the country. And so obviously the law's not working, but at the same time, it's like having a pissing section in the swimming pool, right? So they can just drive across the border or to a different county and buy a handgun, right? So it's something that should probably be like statewide. Colorado's the same way, right? Colorado is in
Chicago generally has 10 to 15 gun-related deaths per day.
Oh, so it's gone down.
And when on its holiday,
479 total violent crimes per day.
On the holidays, there's like 50 plus. Like 4th of July, it's like the Wild West, right? But nobody pays attention to that shit because it's not all recorded. It's not on video. And the victims are usually low income, right? And they're not, it's not white people. And people look at that and they're like, oh, whatever. It's just other people dying. It's poor people killing each other. But it's and that's like the norm nowadays. And nobody bats an eye at it. But if you have, Johnny Crazy Pants who goes out and buys an AR and he's got a bunch of 30-round mags, and he goes and he shoots up a mall and kills a bunch of white kids or middle-class people, and his kill count for one guy is higher, right? So one guy kills 30 people, right? A, it's not the norm for the victims, and then B, there's a big number on it, and C, there's usually video of it, right? And then you got news helicopters and everything flying around, and it's broadcast for a week straight, and everybody knows the guy's name.
It's the event size that draws people to be up in arms about this, because someone goes and shoots up a school or a church, but they don't pay attention to the fact that 10 people have died today in Chicago. Just one city.
That's just normal.
The shock value. So that 1% that gets,
I feel like
all
we're making more of an argument to take away guns, but just this little snippet right here.
No, the other 99% of gun violence, right? But they're trying to target this 1%. That all the
so they're trying to target legal gun owners and not illegal gun owners, because these people committing gun crimes in Chicago and other large cities, they're probably not legal gun owners. They probably had a straw purchase at some sort of some girl in their neighborhood, go to a gun convention, right? Buy a couple handguns and then bring them back. It happens all the time. It's called straw purchases. If you've never heard that fucking word, look into it. And it's 100% legal.
We had a guy, PCS out of the platoon in Pale Horse, and he went to Benning. He was at medical reclass. And his first month there that he moved into his house, everybody told him to live farther out than exit 10. Well, he moved into exit 2. And
but he heard
got broken all the gunshots. All of his guns got stolen.
They got stolen?
All of his guns got stolen. Yep.
Don't doubt it. Like a majority of those people that do it are criminals, and they don't have legal guns. So I do agree with you. Like, they're putting limits on legal gun owners who aren't committing the crimes, and it's the illegal gun owners. But then people would say that brings more of a reason to have an ATF, right, to be able to shut down those illegal gun sales.
Rico just shivered.
But the ATF hasn't done that. Yeah.
No. But see, that's the thing. Like the concept of the ATF, is great with that logic. That's not how the government uses the ATF because they don't want to limit illegal guns. They want to limit legal gun sales.
Yes.
And they're constantly new taxes and changing criteria for what is this and what is that. What SB? Oh God, it just happened the last couple of days. Basically,
totally unrelated.
Sure, why not? I lost my. What's that?
I was like, are those empties? No, they're not.
PCS back to the States, so.
Oh my! Someone went to fucking.
You got a party?
That's all coming back home with me. That's also why I'm not on my super cool camera.
That is what we call a secret handshake with the moving company with money in between. That's what that's going to happen.
That is what's called.
And market at Christmas.
Import taxes.
Hell yeah.
But fuck, I also had a train of thought. I can't remember what it was.
Everybody's just got beer on the brain now.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Now I'm contact drunk.
Drunk now. This is the most drunk I've been in weeks.
So
how long ago did I start this vacation? No, not the short barrels. The stocks that people have been putting on
the pistol stocks.
Yeah,
having adjustable stocks or pistol grips.
Right. So the SB13 is the only one that had the government, the ATF seal approval. There's been variants of it that they've released. There's documents going back and forth where it's not been an issue. And
is that the one with the reclassification of what a rifle and what a pistol is?
Yeah. Well, yeah, kind of ish.
Is that kind of because I know that was becoming an issue, like people saying that now you put a pistol grip or you take the stock off of a rifle and now it's a pistol, and then if you take a pistol and then put a long stock on it, that's no longer a pistol, that is now a rifle.
Oh, it's
super convoluted.
Yeah,
I'm about to get two.
I kind of really want one.
I don't like the idea of it just because I mean, it looks like an AR, but it's
The
still a
Glock
pistol.
conversion kits. Oh, those look so dope.
You
But I
like
think
the
those are
concept
now
because
banned again too.
The
fucking
conversion kits are.
The Keydon kit and the Microroni, they're up for debate with the ATF right now.
Did you buy a bump stock before the ban?
No,
No,
because I was in fucking Germany.
I don't have a rifle. So that's another thing, right? One thing that I really love when people are pro-Trumpers and they hate Biden is they bring up the gun conversation that Biden's going to try to limit our weapons, and then they go, President Trump has been one of the greatest Second Amendment defenders presidents ever. And I'm like, oh, so we're just going to ignore the bump stock ban. That's fine. That's cool. We're just good.
Did he do anything for gun rights?
Not a single fucking thing.
So
Which
like,
is
the
fine.
only thing that changed
He
in the
limited.
presidency was bump stock.
Just
Yeah. So and
I'm
he did
okay
a few
with
more bannings and like limitations, but he didn't give them anything. He just went down. But
Just
when he
let
goes
me
on stage, because that's all they're fucking listening to, and it's the same thing with Biden supporters. That's all they're fucking listening to is on stage. They don't go online
Greatest
and
gun
research like
president
Rico
ever.
has been, and they don't go online and research Kamala Harris's fucking past and Joe Biden's voting record, right? They don't do that shit. They just
Probably.
listen. So when President Trump goes on stage and he goes, I won't take your weapons. I won't let him take your weapons. We're all going to have all the guns. Meantime, he's like, look at this hand. And he's over here signing a bill to take shit away because he's a Democrat. Which is no problem being a Democrat.
Statistically there that all the Democrat-run states are doing fucking horribly when it comes to fucking guns and shit like that. So I'd rather lose one bump stock than take away my potential to be able to defend my family or have to pay more because I'll make a lot of money. Do you think I want to pay for every fucking magazine that I have or pay an extra fucking tax? Hell no.
No. Well, it's just
Already
like
ammo, man. You gotta try to buy ammo right now, Rhodes.
well, no. So
It's
9
hard.
mil is impossible, and I think
Yeah.
that's mostly just because of COVID. Like the government's obviously not limiting it; they can't limit it. But I think it's just because of COVID, because they've had. I said it earlier, right before you jumped on. There was like 8 million new gun owners during the span of COVID this year.
Yeah, my mom bought a gun.
Yeah, a lot of people did. A shit ton of people did because all the riots freaked people out, and they were like, I need to buy a gun. I need to feel safe. Well, for one, you should probably look into training with that gun, but that's fine. Just buy a gun with that. That's cool. Now they're going to buy a gun. They're going to put it up in their closet. And they're never going to fucking use it. They're going to pull it out when they're drunk with their friends and they're going to shoot each other in the foot. That's exactly what's going to fucking happen.
Hell yeah. That's how you learn gun control.
Yeah.
Not going to do that again.
Yeah, they're going to be a Burt Kreischer because I love the man. He's a fantastic stand-up comedian. But if what he says in his specials is true, that man should not own a firearm.
I think I remember. Wasn't he talking about a shotgun or was it an actual handgun?
No. He has a shotgun, but he has a pistol. And he was talking about in his special how literally he loves to just go home, get a glass of whiskey, and then walk around the house with his gun. And like that's his favorite thing.
You don't do that?
Yeah, and he's like, it's not loaded.
One
He's like, I've
glass,
never
sure.
loaded it because I never bought ammo for it. He's like, I never loaded it and I've never shot it. He's like, but I just walk around with it. And he's like, and it really sucks when your flashlight is attached to your gun. So when the power goes out, he's walking around his house with his fucking tack light on his gun. And like, he's like, I almost shot the dog. Like in his special, he talks about the whole thing about how he should not be allowed to own a gun.
Yeah, that really sounds like the guy that bought a gun just to, I don't know, feel like his 2-inch dick does something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and there's real reasons to have firearms and to have different kinds of firearms.
3 reasons. Protect your family. Potential of hunting. And tyrannical governments. Go. That's 3 reasons right there. That's all you need.
Yeah. I've trained in many years to be mediocre at fighting. But if someone breaks in my house, I don't want to grapple with them because I will probably get my ass kicked. I feel way more comfortable with a gun. And I've trained countless hours with a weapon to be proficient at it. Like that's why we do that.
What do you shoot on the qual range?
With an M4, generally 38 to 40. Depends.
Really?
Fuck
Have you
with
done the
me,
pistol
what do you
qual?
want? Pistol qual I max, yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually better with the
Then
pistol
have
than
you-
I am with the rifle.
Have you shot the new SIG that the Army has?
I have not. I have
It's
not.
actually not bad.
I work in a hospital. You think they're gonna fucking hand that to me?
That's like your guys' go-to weapon. So the new
Yeah, the
SIG the Army
pistol is,
has,
but not the new pistol. They give it to SFAB first.
We have them. They actually already they swapped them out one for one.
Bullshit.
It was kind of funny because we got nothing but left-handed holsters, but yeah. But no, I really like the new SIG. I had a SIG. The one gun I bought that I registered
let me go for
was
the first
SIG,
one.
and I hated it.
Well, we're good.
I hated it.
You're
But,
right, which is why I'm saying
the new
that
SIG is
vets
good.
first responders should be not included on that shit, because people should have people that are prepared, that have gone through training in order to be ready for if a tyrannical government takes over. Bam.
No, I would really love to shoot the new SIG,
hold
but
on. Rico, I disagree.
You disagree? You don't think people that are
Because now
properly
you're
trained with
saying-
weapons should be able to?
No, I absolutely do think they should be able to. But I don't think that
Okay.
just because you didn't serve means you don't have the right to be a part of that well-regulated militia. So I
You're
don't think
you're
there should
absolutely
be an
correct there.
exception made.
so I think there should be an
I-
exception, like you go through a certain amount of training. And personally, I
Yes,
think
That's what I'm
Safety
trying to
course.
imply.
yeah,
Hunter safety
Personally,
course. I
I
went when I was
think
like 6.
that you should be required to go through training before you buy a gun. Period.
But
Which
you
can
have to
get
watch the
tricky and
cost.
hazardous with the government, yeah, because they'll
The
rack
cost
it
of the
up and then
training.
people can't. Yes,
yeah,
which
now
they
the
should
tax on
make it
that.
affordable. Like it shouldn't be a limitation. It just should be an add to. So if they could do it in a way to where they're basically just like, hey, we have no problem with you owning a gun. We just want you to be trained with it. So you have to go to a course. Like if you buy a gun, or you have to go to a course and they provide you a weapon, you learn how to shoot it. You have to pass a qualification, and then
Take
you
it
can,
apart, put it together.
yeah, like you have a thing on your driver's license that says you're an organ donor and you're gonna have a weapon.
So the reason
Like you
why
have,
that doesn't
and then
work-
people will get all pissed off about that. But you have a license that says you can fucking drive a car. You're like you won't be
So real
upset that you
quick-
have a license that says you can own a weapon. Like a
The
car.
reason why
People will
that
still be
doesn't
pissed
work-
about that.
Well,
People
yeah,
will still be
is
but no one's
because-
pissed off about the driver's license.
Hold on. The reason why that doesn't work with the training ahead of time is I'm taking this from the Joe Rogan show, or Colan Noir is probably the same episode. Take
Bring
the
up-
I've watched
story they
that
were
one,
talking
yeah.
about. They were talking about how a woman in New Jersey needed a weapon to protect herself from a ex-boyfriend that she thought was going to kill her.
Yeah.
She had to wait 30 days, minimum of 30 days. And in that 30 days, she was killed by that dude that she needed to protect herself from.
So
Yeah.
at the
And
same time,
I've heard a few of those stories.
yes, right? You hear those, right? At the same time, those are probably a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of actual gun purchases. It's just like people
Right.
saying abortion should be legal. What about women that are raped or incest, right? Tiny, tiny part of actual abortions, right? People that are about to be killed and need to buy a gun, tiny part of actual gun buys. So
Yeah.
I think
You're probably
I
not
understand
wrong.
the argument. I just don't think it's a very powerful one. And it is tragic what happened to those people that don't get it because of those restrictions. And I don't have the answer on how to go around it. But I think if we're
I
going to
mean,
argue
there-
against those, we just have to have a better argument.
Yeah, there's really no way to
Okay.
get around it, because it's either make it to where people can just buy a gun that same day, which can happen even with a background check, because I did it.
I can't. I can't.
went
do
to a
it.
gun shop
'Cause
in
every time-
Texas. I went to go buy my gun. They ran it through literally in an hour, and they came back and said, "Hey, you passed your background check. Here's
You're
your
a soldier.
fucking handgun."
You're a soldier.
Well, yeah, and I'm a
every
soldier,
weapon that I
so
bought
mine
in
was
Texas,
quicker.
I've had to wait 2 weeks for my background check in Texas. For
Really?
every gun I bought while I've been in Texas, it's been fucking
In
crazy.
Texas? What?
Yes.
Where in
Dude.
Texas? Where in
The-
Texas?
Bliss.
I'm in El Paso, Bliss. So they send it up to the FBI
Really?
fucking query system. and they're like, hey, normally this comes back in 10, 15 minutes. I'm there for like an hour, and they're like, well, guess it's not coming out today. And I keep calling. Yeah, probably.
Did they ask for your birth certificate too? They're like, nah, this guy came from Juarez.
Are you gang affiliated? Yes, largest gang in the world.
I need to see if there's tattoos, all right?
But I mean, like, so you can either let people buy them on the same day, and then it's just completely unregulated. You have a whole bunch of people that shouldn't be allowed, or there needs to be some limitations, right? It's just like we can't let. Same theory. Vehicles are very dangerous things to operate. We can't just let everyone fucking have one and drive one without knowing how to do it. And some people, like myself, growing up in the country or just doing things with your dad, like you learn at a younger age than the normal age. So like you know how to drive younger. But then other people don't learn until they're well older because there was no need to drive wherever they lived. Right? How many soldiers do we get that are 19 and don't have a fucking driver's license because they live in New York?
I had to train dudes that the first vehicle they ever got into was a fucking 52,000-pound Striker.
Right?
And we'd be going down the road and it curves to the left and the guy just drives right off the road. I'm like, what are you doing?
Hell yeah.
Like,
Every time.
Like, have you ever driven anything? He's like, no, I grew up in New York City. I rode the subway and the bus. Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, like the first time that I'm teaching you how to drive a vehicle should not be in a 60,000-pound vehicle through a camera because it's nighttime and you're having to drive by a fucking Game Boy pad.
Like, scrape that off a little bit. That's what we need to do. Army training. First day of driver's ed is you get the steering wheel and the gas pedals, and they put on Grand Theft Auto, and you got to not hit a car.
Right? But so they go through training. The military does it too. They don't just hand you a weapon in basic training and go shoot shit. They teach you every component of the weapon, then take you to the range, and you do dry fire drills out the fucking ass, and then they finally give you the ammo, and you shoot. Like... And granted, they're training us to be soldiers and be at a higher proficiency level than your average civilian. But at the minimum, go to a range. Learn how to take it apart. Learn how to put it together. Learn how to fix a malfunction without pointing the barrel at your fucking face. Teach people to keep their fucking booger picker off the bang switch. Like, simple
that's not always going to work, though. I definitely know at least one current somebody who's a rank higher than me that still NDs out the field. So, there's that.
Yes, it happens all the time. I love that reference, by the way. But,
happened. We happened there.
Yeah, we can't. Names.
Shoot it in a message. I gotta know. I'm the marksmanship master trainer now. All right, I gotta know. Speaking of basic training, I am going to Fort Jackson for the next 3 years to be.
What?
Are you drill or are you going cadre?
Cadre. Probably gonna be marksmanship trainer.
Nice.
Very nice. I thought the drills were just the marksmanship guys.
I don't know how they run it at Jackson. I went to Benning, so
no,
I was at Jackson and my drills were teaching us.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Jackson. When I was there, they had specific dudes for that.
Oh,
did
they?
The drill sergeants, then you had the master marksmans.
They might have changed it because I went 2 years before you? Yeah. Year and a half.
Oh, no, I went in 2012. I'm old.
Also, I have a terrible memory, and that was 9 years ago, so I could very well be wrong, and they did have people there, and I just wasn't paying attention because 19-year-old me was just scared shitless, and I'm just following people around.
Bro, I got PTSD from basic.
No, it was too easy was the problem. I got lazier.
Oh, did you see do you guys follow Angry Cops?
Yes.
On Facebook? Did you see his video about the new first 100 yards?
Yeah, he got fired up.
Did you hear the question, though? The sergeant major asked the trainee. It's like, do you think it's hard? And he's like, no, I thought it was going to be harder.
The balls of steel on this private.
That kid
he probably thought that was a really solid answer, too.
Well,
he's just trying to be a badass. Like, this is easy.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
so
no, I
high
bet he
speed.
was
on the
being
inside.
completely
It's
honest, but he's too new to know exactly who the fuck he was talking to.
He got
And he doesn't have
decimated
the
after
fear
that.
yet. That's his first day. It's his first 2 hours of the fucking basic training. So he doesn't know that he's talking to the sergeant major of the army.
Yeah, who's this guy with all these things on his chest? I don't know.
Yeah, like who's this important dude? So he doesn't know who he's talking to. And I guarantee either one of two things happened. Either the drill that was sitting next to him was like, I'm going to fuck this dude up later. Or
The
he was
drill
like, this
sergeant
dude's
of the
getting the
year that was with him?
crispiest of high fives.
I think it was a crispy high five.
That was
no drill
that dude
sergeant.
that was with him was the
likes
drill
what they're
sergeant of
doing.
the year.
Yeah, no drill sergeant likes what they're doing there. Like,
That makes sense. They would have given him the drill sergeant of the year for that, so that dude knows what to say.
Am I allowed to smoke on stream? I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
well, I mean,
We're not
we're about to close up, but yeah, sure, fuck
Oh,
you,
yeah.
man.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
We're about to close it up, but so that the biggest thing with the Biden administration is guns, of course. The defund the police is a big one, and then fracking and the conservation. I think those are the biggest things, and honestly, right now, those are kind of some of the biggest things that need to be tackled. Better training for police, because with all of the racial violence and the protests that are going on, that is obviously a major thing that needs to get taken care of. Obviously, I've never experienced it. I don't know anything about it, but the amount of friends I have that are minorities that have talked about literally just living with a fear that they could die by police officers, whether it's granted or not, they were raised by their parents telling them to have this legit fear of that. And that's not right. Like, something obviously needs to happen. Like, there's a point of truth. Like, I don't know the reality of it. It could just be a fraction, but that's still a fraction of truth to it. So obviously something needs to happen there. We obviously need to look into greater environmental actions, right? Don't just think that global warming's incorrect. Yes, some of the science has been incorrect and they've changed it through the years, but that's literally the point of science. And you know what? Maybe global warming is a hoax, but what's the problem with having clean air and clean water? Flint, Michigan.
We're too accustomed to it.
Taking all the germs away, damn it.
I'm taking
All right,
the
so next
germs
week-
away. Or the
Next week,
Germans.
since we were very serious this episode, next week we'll talk about the lack of Xboxes, PS5s, Nvidia cards, AMD cards, Yeezys. We'll go very superficial next week.
Yeah, Enrico will
Goddamn
twerk for us.
Bitcoin miners.
Damn
Yeah,
Nvidia
Graphics cards are so
selling.
expensive. Just saying.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have far less Black Friday trample videos this next week.
Oh,
Well, I mean, so
I feel
everywhere
like,
did
did you
Black
guys- what
Friday
did you
throughout
guys
the
start off
whole
with?
week. They just did Black Friday the whole week rather than just on a day. So on like Monday, they started Black Friday sales. So that way people weren't going because of COVID. So they didn't want any like super reactive fucking events going on. So they just had it all week. But people still showed up. The fucking PX here on post, they had a line outside of the PX Thursday night ready for Black Friday sales. I'm like, for one, what are you trying to give the PX? For Tuesdays, the fucking PX. Like, you
I know
can
what I
show
would
up
go.
at noon the next day and still get the same
Nice.
sales.
The El Paso goddamn PX had a CZ Scorpion there. Of course, I'm out over here. That shit was gone in like a matter of seconds.
I forgot they sell guns at the PX. Holy shit.
Well, and now
Yeah.
with Walmart not selling almost fucking anything for military members, the
They're about
PX
to
is
change their
about
stance on
the
that.
only place you can
There's
go.
there's your straw buy. There's your soldiers with their hustles. Look, man, you can't buy a gun at Walmart. I got you.
Oh, dude, there's some dumb private listening to our podcast for some odd reason a month from now going, oh shit, why did I think of that?
Yeah, I found a hookup on Polymer 80s.
Don't do
about to
that,
start
kids.
selling
It's
Glocks.
bad.
So
Well, there you go.
The double cheeseburger of handguns.
Well, I think we've covered a lot. We actually got pretty in depth with a lot of stuff, and I like it.
yeah, I went on 2 rants today.
Vecnob, I don't know who the fuck you are, but thank you for jumping in.
Yeah.
And your
Like, share,
grateful
subscribe.
insights to whatever you were talking about.
Thanks for getting our Twitch numbers up.
Yeah, of 1.
I didn't know you guys were
appreciate
on
it.
Twitch too. I could dual stream.
Oh yeah, we're on Twitch,
Hey,
YouTube, and Facebook.
Yeah, we do all
I
3
couldn't get
live. So
YouTube live
we're
to
on
work,
3
right?
things right now.
But we appreciate you guys.
Post the links in chat so people can follow
Sure.
in all 3 chats.
I don't. I don't know.
You
I
can do it, Rex.
don't know my own links to shit.
You just go to the pages and get the links. I would
They're
do
not
it,
mine. I'll
but
post
I'm
them
literally
later.
I'm using a tablet as my damn capture right now. I'm using my cell phone as lighting. See, look, I no longer have.
He literally had a white video playing on his phone.
Yeah, white
for
video on
lighting,
YouTube.
and it's better than mine.
It's just
I
a
have
3-hour
my,
long white video.
It's so upsetting.
And it's all hung up by bootstraps.
Oh Jesus! That sweet
It's
setup that
upsetting.
I had with my one time I jumped on here is gone now. It's all taken apart. That was depressing.
That's a horrible
That took like
feeling.
6
I've
hours.
been there, and I feel for you. Because when I had to take apart my rig and then put everything back together, it was a goddamn nightmare.
Now I'm just hoping the movers don't steal anything. One of my buddies had his
Ugh.
Xbox stolen when he got to the States. His account logged in Poland.
Oh man.
That's all my stuff. By the way, you can ship that.
A printer?
Shit, what?
Oh, is it a dummy round?
Hey,
Yeah. Don't need any paperwork. Just tell them it's a dud.
Goddamn
Hell yeah.
mortars. If I would have known that, I would have
the whole boat blew
precariously
up,
had one
wasn't it?
disappear. Well, you tell me
Yeah,
anything
round
like
unobserved. I
military
don't know,
training
man.
related. Yeah, if you tell me anything's military training related, it's fine. Like the customs lady comes over to my house and she sees 2 MES chests and she's like, "What's in that? Is there any fluids in there?" I was like, "Military
No.
fluids," and she's like, "Okay," and just signs it.
Yeah, there's just a shit ton of morphine.
No. Don't ask questions. You're asking too many questions. But thank you to Grant for jumping in. We love it when you jump into the podcast. Since Firth couldn't be
He
here.
says he's got no internet in Germany for some reason, but you're
Yeah.
in Germany, so
Firth,
that's a confusing story.
Is he in the? He's not in the barracks, is he?
He's not.
No.
We don't know
the
why he's
internet
not
has
on
been-
today, but he had some issues. So Firth wasn't with us today. But
Yeah, I'm just
Grant
giving him
picked
shit.
up the slack, which we appreciate. And
I wish Firth was
anytime that you want to jump on,
Feel free.
let us know, and I will shoot you the link. And you're more than welcome to be our guest. I appreciate you and your stash of brilliance.
Thank God for wearing a mask because I'm not shaving this. It's so far out of regs.
You're not even gonna trim it. You're just like, fuck it.
Nope.
So out of rigs. Just that point. Hey,
Definitely.
it's Sarn McCready. Can you
That
remove
is
your
coming
mask?
from a
No, that's
person.
unsafe, first, Sarn. I can't.
Yeah,
Ooh.
That's against
All
your
right, wrap her
regulation.
up.
I can't do that.
All
right, ladies and gentlemen,
1%
thank you.
battery.
For watching us. Thank you for viewing us. Thank you for loving us. We love you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. If you're interested, you can follow Mr. Grant McCready. Where? Nowhere.
Irish Gaming. I haven't streamed since I got back from Georgia, and it's all taken apart now. So maybe in the future.
You can watch his old videos. They're here in a few
Subscribe
months.
now for later.
Yeah, subscribe now for
Yeah.
later. He's a great gamer. He's very entertaining.
Not PG-13.
I'm decently good, and he makes me feel like a fucking simp when I play with him. He carries the team hard.
I used to play in MLG tournaments. All right, I'll say that.
He's very good.
Hey,
But
you wait. I just bought a 165 hertz monitor. It's gonna get real.
because Rico's that guy, like, if my
144
equipment is
hertz
better,
sitting on a pile
I
on the
will be
floor
better.
over
Rico's like, if I can
Guy
see
that has
the
like a
freckles
need all that
on the
$6,000
enemy,
rig.
yeah, if I can see into their
rig,
pores
It's getting there.
Plants vs Zombies.
How did you
to
know?
play Among Us.
Fucking Animal Crossing.
Rico's
Hey,
like,
man,
if
you
I
wanna
can't
play
see
Call
their
of Duty?
pores
Sorry,
in
man.
COD, then it's not worth it. I have to see into their soul.
Yeah, I got
Oh, the new Call of Duty trash, by the way.
Oh, 100%. It's just the old Call of Duty in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
So it is.
Jeez.
But thank you.
All right.
Like, share, subscribe. We love you guys. We'll see you next weekend. Actually, yeah, next weekend we'll probably be on that Sunday because my daughter's birthday is on that Friday or that Saturday, actually.
Sunday
So-
actually works for me. That's good.
Yep.
No.
So we'll be on that Sunday, probably the 6th. We love you guys. Thank you. Peace.